Ladies and gentlemen, damas y caballeros, welcome to the Eagle Talk Show. Bienvenido al Show de las Águilas. And now, please stand and welcome your host, Micah Arreano.
Bienvenidos al Show de las Águilas. Welcome to the Eagle Talk Show. As you know, our show focuses on listening. As a parent, you got to listen to your kids. Learning is learning what you can give to your child's higher education. And all that turns into love your child and embrace your child for higher education. El show se enfoca para escuchar a nuestros hijos y aprender para dar el apoyo a nuestros hijos para que aprendan algo escolar para su educación. Y todo eso es con amor. Entonces, enfocamos a hoy el tema de anti-bullying que dimos stand, take a stand, lend a hand. So, vamos a enfocarlos en formación para ustedes, padres, para darle el apoyo a ustedes y también para ustedes, padres, en formación que hay. Si usted está pasando ahorita, o ahorita que lo escuchan esta mañana o en la noche, están viendo este show, es que damos el apoyo a nuestros hijos. Pero quiero darle un tip, como digamos aquí en América, un tip. Es, padres, cuando tienen tiempo o hagan tiempo ustedes para leer con sus hijos, es bien importante. No más que vaya el niño a leer en su cuarto. Tomen el tiempo para leer con ellos 30 minutos. Paguen la tele, graben este show, después pongan el show. And so I want you to take your time to listen to your kids, to read to your kids. It's very key for the higher education. Take 30 minutes. Turn on the TV, the internet. Record this show and later on spend time with the family. But I want to welcome, we have here we have actually 3 guests. So 2 of our guests that are going to help us to work with Austin Independent School District. It's Terry Woods. She focuses on elementary counselors. And then we have here Angela Guerrero. She's actually Walnut Creek counselor. We're going to share what are the resources for you, for parents in the audience, when you're talking about bullying or suicidal. That's what we're going to talk about today. And so let's welcome, and also we have, as a parent, to share with us that she had experience with bullying. We have actually Teresa Basa and join us here. So let's give them applause for welcoming them to join us today on our show. Okay. Well, welcome to the Eagle Talk Show.
Oh, thank you very much.
And I believe this is a very key program to really help our parents, especially with bullying. And so I always think this, that, and it's like one of my mentors said years ago, as Dr. Lucia Capacchione, wrote a lot of books helping the kids and self-esteem. And she said this to me: our bodies were created to process emotions, never to store them. And so una maestra para mí me dijo, el cuerpo se hizo para no más a recibir nuestros sentimientos, proceso mis sentimientos, pero no que estén en nuestro cuerpo, porque pues comienzan condiciones en nuestro cuerpo. So, parte de bullying también, como digamos nosotros, es que vamos a hablar qué es el bullying. Terry, welcome to the Eagle Talk Show again.
Well, thank you.
And I know you focus on elementary counselors, so share with us.
Yes. So my job is to go around and support the elementary counselors in the district. And currently we have close to 100 counselors in the district. We have 84 elementary schools. So a lot of folks, a lot of needs, and very diverse needs across campuses, across our community.
So se enfoca en la escuela para darle apoyo a los consejeros y qué formación o qué servicios hay para los padres, para los maestros y para los estudiantes en el Distrito Escolar de Austin. And Angela, you work with Walnut Creek.
I do.
So share with us what do you do at Walnut Creek?
Well, I wear very many hats at Walnut Creek. As a counselor, I feel like I am there to, first off, support the students. I help support parents and also staff, the teachers, primarily teachers when they're, having situations where they need advice on, how to help the children better
en español para la gente, el público.
Okay. Mi rol como consejera en la escuela de Walnut Creek, uso diferentes sombreros, hago varias cosas diferentes, pero más que todo estoy ahí para apoyar a los estudiantes y los padres y también las maestras, más que todo cuando tienen situaciones que necesitan ayuda con los estudiantes.
Y tenemos el padre aquí, Teresa. Bienvenida al Show de las Águilas. Welcome to the Eagle Talk Show. We talked before that this is a very, you take this topic and very sincere because you were impacted as a parent and your child. So share with us about bullying. What was your experience as a parent?
I have 3 boys, and all 3 are in Austin ISD schools, in elementary, middle, and high school. So I get to experience a wide range of things through my children. My youngest one recently was called a name, and we were able to address it immediately because of the type of relationship my children and I have built. I'm fairly recently divorced, and so we had to go through a lot of changes and transitions last year. So our relationship was built around crisis. And out of that crisis was born a connection with my children to the extent that we are able to talk about anything openly. And I built a routine with them every night where I would spend time with them in their bed, and we would talk about their day and their fears and their likes and dislikes. And
So you share, it was in middle school. Is it still occurring, or what did you do to stop that situation? Or
what I did is I actually asked information from my son and have him describe the incident. And I asked him how that made him feel. After that, we devised a plan. I gave him some options. I asked him if he felt comfortable dealing with it himself or if we needed to get some help. He felt empowered enough to deal with it himself. And so what we did is we did an exercise of visualizing himself being empowered and not...
the king within himself, right?
Yes.
This is what it's all about. We got to embrace ourselves with the king, and this is why this represents that I've done work myself. I was a survivor of being, I was bullied in middle school, and I'm a survivor of that, and so I take it serious. I tried to commit suicide twice, was not successful, and we know why, because here today we're giving information to the public. But I take this because I'm the king within myself. I've done my work. It's a process. And so I embrace my inner self, and that's what it is, I think, in kids nowadays, is to support ourselves. Es apoyar a nuestros hijos. Yo soy el rey de mí. ¿Por qué? Porque es el trabajo que hago yo, ¿verdad? Y es educar a nuestros hijos, padres, que ellos son su rey o la reina de su mundo, de ser humano. No te interesa lo que piensa la gente de ellos, o cómo son ellos, o cómo se compartan ellos. And so, did you find resources? Because I know with AISD we have tons of resources, and one of the things that I really want to educate and inform the community that, because people say there's hope, well, there's hope, but where are the hope? I mean, do disappear right now and hope? So Terry, elaborate with us. I mean, that hope is called physical communication with someone. What do we do in AISD?
Okay, so the first thing we do is we work on prevention. We want to give students the skills to address situations when they might encounter bullying. And we start with lessons in the classroom. We have a counselor leadership team where some very just excellent counselors with a lot of experience came together and created lessons for all of the counselors in the district to bring to the classrooms. And we start out, first of all, just by talking about the language. What is bullying? Because sometimes kids confuse conflict, just having trouble with a friend, with bullying. So helping kids understand what that is. And it can be verbal, something that somebody's saying. It can be a physical bullying. Now the cyberbullying with social media, like Facebook, has become a big thing. So we talk about what those things are. The second set of lessons helps kids gain skills. And like you were talking about so wonderfully, to give them that power, to help them become assertive in addressing those situations. Because a lot of our kids, they're very sweet, nice kids. They don't want to cause a problem. And so when they're confronted with bullying, they may not know how to act because they want things to be okay. They want to keep it calm. And so letting them know that it's okay, like you said, that you can have that power within yourself to stand for yourself. That's huge.
Also, and it's part of a culture. And Teresa, you shared that with me a while back in a backstage, that it's culture we have to break those barriers. So
Yes.
what is the culture? ¿Qué es la cultura que tenemos que romper los géneros? ¿Qué es?
Generalmente crecemos con la expectativa de que los niños tienen que obedecer a los adultos y tenemos que escuchar y no podemos confrontar situaciones. Entonces, desgraciadamente, crecemos sin las herramientas para poder defendernos, ¿no? Y poder proteger nuestra integridad. Y eso es lo que yo creo que tenemos que quizá reenfocar, porque necesitamos saber que nuestros padres están disponibles para escucharnos. Cualquier tipo de conversación, por muy incómoda que ésta sea, los padres también tenemos que estar dispuestos a recibir esa información, a escuchar, a procesar y a dar quizá simplemente o estar ahí si es lo que ellos necesitan o dar quizá nuestra perspectiva. Es mejor que lo escuchen de nosotros y no de otra persona, que quizá no tenga las intenciones
So it's
más
basically
transparentes.
just being open and receptive as a parent. You might not acknowledge it at that time, but even the culture has taboos, and we all know that. But open to the child because of their disabilities, perhaps physical.
Right.
It could be, just in a language. It could be sexual orientation. It could be anything. And so our society, and I travel all over the world, pretty much everybody knows that, but our country is very rich in a lot of things, but it's not very quite have learned to be the awareness of open and receptive of, this is where the kids are. That they want to see, don't fix it for me, but just listen to me. And I think that's what you share with me backstage. Your child once said, Mom, I just wanted to share with us also that your child, did you ever bother just to listen to my brother? Share that with us.
Right. Well, and I feel sometimes that's what children are asking for, not necessarily to fix something for them, but just to be there, just to make them feel that they're not alone, that they have someone that is unconditional, that could be there for them at any time, and that they have their back. I feel that's one of the most powerful tools that a child could have, is to have an adult presence that at any time, any crisis could come up. They know that they have someone that would protect them.
And that's what I say in the show. Part of our show is listening.
Right.
Listen what's going on in the environment of your child or your home, and even in school. And learning, we're learning. Things that always say, what? This happened. It's a learning process. And all that tails into just embracing unconditional love to that child. That's what they're asking us for that. And so, Angela, ¿qué servicios hay en el escolar de Austin como consejera? ¿Qué programas o clases en los salones de niños?
Pues una de las cosas que quiero mencionar con lo que estamos hablando en este momento es de que yo siempre cuando voy a hablar con los niños en los salones, siempre les pido que por favor me escuchan con sus ojos, sus oídos y su corazón. Y ellos ya saben que eso significa que no estamos necesariamente escuchando con el corazón, pero escuchar con el corazón, que quiere decir que yo quiero que les importe de lo que voy a hablar, porque es una cosa muy importante. ¿Okay? Más que todo, cuando voy a las clases para hablar con los niños, por ejemplo, con este tema de anti-bullying, hablamos de qué es bullying. Y yo hago la pregunta y ellos me responden. Y muchas veces ellos saben todos los comportamientos que van con el acto de ser un bully.
So, el bullying puede ser también el internet.
Yeah, there's various things, gossiping,
Yeah.
internet, like spreading rumors, right? Specifically, one third grade student mentioned that when they're on the bus is a place where a lot of bullying takes place because the one adult is busy driving. So there isn't a whole lot of supervision. And one of the third grade students told me that he had just recently been on the bus and that somebody had written something really mean about one of the students on the bus and had crumbled up the paper and was throwing it around. And so different students on the bus were reading this about this one particular child. So we talked about, how do you think that student that note was written about, how do you think that student felt? So, we talk a lot about feelings.
As a parent here, Terry, as a parent here calls, who do they go in their situation of bullying or just harassment or whatever you might categorize that? What do we go? Who do we call?
Okay, so if a student has an outcry of bullying, whether it's to a parent, it's to a school staff member, the first person that you approach is the administrator, the principal, or the assistant principal, because they have the authority to investigate the case. And if the case is serious, then they will call in what is called our SRO, our campus police officers, to investigate more. The counselor's job is not to investigate. The counselor's job is to help the student who was bullied, or even to help the student who is acting like a bully to have better skills in his or her relationships. So for the counselors, it's support and counseling. But in terms of investigating a situation, you would go to your administrator first.
So el primero en la escuela es el administrador, los administradores, y la consejera es para dar apoyo al asunto que está pasando. So,
ayudar a que los niños aprendan a cómo hablar y resolver los problemas con el hablar en una manera respetuosa.
Y hablamos algo de cultura, Teresa. Como yo me crié en la cultura de aquí, es cuando la violencia es violencia, ¿verdad? And so violence is violence. Y por toda la cultura dices, mira, mijo, un jodazo y ya se termina todo. Pues sí se termina, hay unos casos. Pero yo digo, entonces ya estamos en otro nivel, otra etapa de violencia. And so our culture sometimes is just smack them, let them have it, and it's done. Well, I think we're promoting what? Violence. ¿Y no es cierto? Sí, dar un jodazo y ya se quedó. So, esas son las cosas que queremos hablar de la cultura que educar a nuestros padres.
Claro, y en el fondo nosotros crecemos con esa imagen de familia, que eso está permitido, ¿no? Entonces, es nuestro rol como padres el romper ese ciclo, ese círculo de violencia, donde yo veo que mi hijo no se está beneficiando por ser golpeado, al contrario, que su autoestima va disminuyendo, que él no es, que es inseguro de sí mismo, que no es capaz de enfrentar situaciones de bullying en el colegio, porque yo no le he dado las herramientas para que él se sienta que es en el fondo el rey de su propio destino, ¿no? Entonces es muy importante que nosotros como padres seamos sensibles a los tiempos están cambiando, la violencia no es aceptable en ninguna circunstancia, es particularmente cuando tiene que ver con nuestros hijos, están en etapa de formación, por tanto cualquier cosa que digamos o que hagamos, ellos la van a llevar consigo mientras vayan creciendo y lo van a traducir en problemas de relación con otros también. Entonces,
porque
es muy
el bullying
importante.
va a estar todo el tiempo en escuela. Bullying is happening in different environments, at school, as adults, in our own working environment, you know. But, you know, what do we call, there's hotlines, Terry, what a parent could call. I know, you know, there's the bullying national hotline, suicidal hotline. These are the resources that we got to really enforce to the parents that are listening today and our audience here, that there is resources out there. Hay programas, hay servicios para ustedes si su niño está pasando por esta etapa. No se cierre el mundo, es bien importante. And I share with this compassion, you know, I was maybe about 13 years old. My uncle committed suicide, and he was very young. And it came from the military, and you know, I wish I had those resources to help we still miss my uncle, but you know, it affects the family, and so nowadays we have all these resources. Tenemos servicios para hablar a la escuela, es importante. A los consejeros es importante hablar, talking to the counselor, the administrators. Somebody is going to listen to us. Alguien los va a escuchar a ustedes si están pasando en este tema que estamos hablando, bullying. And so, Angela, what else do we do? You talk about class. You brought something, you know, this is right here. The kids of Walnut Creek, part of the campaign, they did T-shirts. Take a stand, lend a hand. Es tome una voz y darle el apoyo a la persona que está pasando por esta experiencia. Las camisas que ven ustedes que los niños se enfocaron. Y si pasan por la Breaker, donde está el colegio de Walnut Creek, están las camisas hasta el fin del mes de octubre. Es que los niños quieren educarse, quieren educar al público que esto ya basta. No es parte, padres, de la cultura, es algo que se aprende. It's not a culture thing. It's a behavior process learning. So we got to change it now. And so share with us how the experience of the kids on the T-shirts.
So the kids really enjoyed making the T-shirts. Les encantó el proyecto de hacer las camisas. We also have, the district has adopted the No Place for Hate.
Right.
So Terry and I were talking about
So what is that?
So No Place for Hate is part of the Anti-Defamation League. And so if you want to say a little something, what I know is that we're basically teaching students how to accept differences.
So explícamelo un poquito breve en español. Lo pasamos.
Okay. Anti-Defamation League, no sé exactamente cómo se dice en español, pero es un programa que adoptó el distrito como hace unos 3 años y ya en este momento casi todas las escuelas de Austin ISD han adoptado este programa y es un programa en que más que todo son las consejeras que son encargadas de dirigir un programa en que escogemos un grupo de estudiantes, probablemente los mayores de 4º y 5º grado, que sirven como líderes de la escuela para organizar diferentes eventos que tengan que ver con asuntos que tengan que ver con aceptación. Entonces, por ejemplo, los que escogimos en Walnut Creek este año tiene que ver con uno que tengo acá, que ahora les voy a mostrar, y otro que tiene que ver con cómo hacer sentir bien a los demás. So, like, building friendships. So something about
So share with us.
Eagles or friends. And the one that we just did in class recently, which was part of the guidance lesson, was we went ahead and did the take a stand, lend a hand.
So tiene un mensaje de cada niño. De cada...
Sí, entonces cada estudiante recibió un niño, los niños recibieron el niño y las niñas, y decoraron las camisas. I gave them 4 options, 4 soluciones, and then they were also allowed to come up with their own solutions, but basically the 4 that I gave them were, tell an adult that you trust, be nice and walk away, ignore the bully, or, tell the bully to stop. Una de las cosas muy importantes que siempre hablo con los niños es de que cuando hay una situación en que alguien está haciendo algo que no te gusta, tienes que decir pare, pero tienes que mirarlo a los ojos, porque eso es muy importante enseñarle a los niños que cuando quieres que las personas te toman en serio, hay que mirar a las personas en los ojos y decir pare.
Wow, that's good.
Y también mucho hablo de talk it out. That's my thing, talk it out.
Sí.
So
And
this is really fun.
I want to go back to you, Terry.
Okay.
And it's, I'm going to go with Teresa, and then I'll come back with you.
Okay.
All this experience, how do you convert that experience to a positive? What do you do in the community?
I've been very fortunate. I'm in the nonprofit world. I have worked in the past with family violence and child abuse. So I was quite familiar with the concept of bullying and what could happen at home and basically the consequences of not listening to your child timely. So I'm in a very privileged position in that perspective. What you could do in the community, what I have done is basically just making sure that my children know that they can count on me. When their friends are invited over to our house, we exercise that same pattern. I mean, there are just more children coming, and I have the opportunity to address any type of issues.
My mom always taught us, she wanted to know that her kids environment, us, know the parents of our friends. And I think we've gotten disconnected in our society that. We spend so much in the, social media is great. I mean, everybody's following us right now on Twitter, that's great, But there's a time for family. Right. And that is very clear communication. What's going on, child, in your school? How was your day at school? Just be open, and again, I really emphasize that listening, learning, that is the best thing, that a mother could do that. And so our district encourage, parents to engage with their child's academics. But, what other resources can a parent, besides contacting the administrators and...
Right. Well, in terms of the district, if you contact your administrator and you feel like you're not being satisfied, basically the administrator, within a very short period of time, I think 24 hours from hearing an outcry of bullying, they have to file what's called a Title IX bullying report, which means it's a report that they have heard this, that's under investigation, and we're determining the action at that point. But if you don't receive satisfaction from that, we have what's called a district ombudsman, and her name is Beverly Reeves, and she hears the cases of parents who are looking for more answers, more support. They're feeling like maybe their campus isn't addressing the situation appropriately. So parents can go to that level.
So, si como dice Terry, y si no lo escucha no el administrador de la escuela, del colegio de sus hijos, hay un proceso también en el centro escolar de Austin. Se puede hablar con alguien, como la señora Beverly Reed, que se encarga de los quejos para saber qué se puede hacer con la decisión de ustedes. Cada caso es diferente. And so, Angela, I know when the kids, the intimidation for the kids because they're growing up and react to themselves. But what do you encourage parents to do?
Talk and listen more than anything. And I think also teaching your children the importance of actually having conversations about how do you feel, but just like you said, like asking your children, ¿Cómo te sentiste cuando esto pasó? ¿Qué puedes hacer para resolver este problema? Many times in bully situations at Walnut Creek, a student will come to me and say, Miss Guerrero, so-and-so is bullying me. And then I say, well, tell me about it. So we talk about it. How did that make you feel? And then when we're done, I usually call the bully into my office. And I just had this situation this week where, vino un estudiante, hablamos, después vino la persona que estaba supuestamente siendo el bully, y hablamos entre las tres. Y cuando se fueron de mi oficina, ya como que el problema estaba más resuelto, y al día siguiente vino una de las niñas a mi oficina y me dijo, ya Cristina y yo somos amigas.
It's, I guess, communication and how you
muy importante
involve
comunicar.
the students to resolve, to take that leadership also.
Well, and can I talk
Sure.
about a couple of community
Sure.
organizations? I noticed that you have the help number. In Austin Travis County, we have a help number. It's 472-HELP, and parents can call for any kind of support their student might be feeling. Like you said earlier, bullying a lot of times might lead a student to feel sad, to feel depressed, to maybe even feel suicidal. And so for parents seeking help, that's a great hotline number to start with. If you have older students who are involved in relationship difficulties, Safe Place has an Expect Respect program. They do it on some of the middle and high school campuses.
The 211.
Which is a general info
general
number.
information. Like Terry, como dice Terry, que la información es, puede hablar usted también el 472, la ayuda, pero en inglés dice help, o el 211 para información, que hay organizaciones aquí en la ciudad de Austin para ayudar a los padres. So, no se les cierre a ustedes el mundo. Ustedes, como digo, todos siempre padres que los escuchan hoy, usted es el chofer del autobús de la educación de sus hijos. And so I always say this, like you are the driver of your child's educational bus. And so you got to listen, learn, and love is all, that's what the child's pretty much asking on that. So, and before we close on this, Teresa, you want to say anything last,
If there's any advice from a parent that I can humbly give is to perhaps reinstate the dinner table conversations. After dinner conversations, those are typically the richest types of conversations you can have with your family members. If you can spend some time tucking your children in, it's amazing the type of information you learn from that. Just spending a little time, turning off the television for a second, perhaps
build that relationship.
Yeah,
again.
schedule the times for video games. That it's not just a free everyday thing to do for them. That really isolates children and puts them in a position of being a part of almost a virtual life. So bring back the conversation, I think, within the family.
The one thing that I want to, in regarding what you just said was that, a lot of parents come to my office, and one of the things that we talk about is quality time. I talk to them a lot about quality time and how even nowadays it's like positive reinforcement can be not necessarily taking your child to go buy them something, but just spending quality time. And quality time means total and complete presence. And when I mean that, I mean eye contact, talking, listening, not looking at your phone, not texting, not being on the computer, not watching television, being completely present with your child, even if just for 30 minutes a day, can make a huge impact on a child.
I want to thank Teresa Baza por being here, para estar con nosotros. Angela, Terry, thank you for coming to the Eagle Talk Show. Para, antes que lo damos, un mensaje de Twitter, parte del Austin PD Chief Police Acevedo. He states this: too often bullies are model behaviors experiencing at home. Están aprendiendo en la casa. We need to set an example of loving and tolerance. And remember, you are the driver of your child's bus. Welcome to our next segment of the Eagle Talk Show, Anti-Bullying. Bienvenidos al siguiente, el tema de anti-bullying. Vamos a hablar, las personas que están aquí van a platicar, estuvieron ellos una experiencia de bullying. So vamos a darle una bienvenida. Let's welcome our guests. We have Tim and we have Miguel here. So welcome them for our next segment. Thank you. Always read to your kids. A leer a sus hijos es bien importante para su educación. So, por favor, graben este show, pero tomen tiempo para sus hijos. So, Tim, I know you were impacted in middle school as we talk with anti-bullying. So, share with our audience and our parents what happened in middle school. How long was it?
For me, it was 5th grade. So in 5th grade, we know transition will be junior high. So for me, being Spanish, we lived close to the border, South Texas. So we moved into a rival school. So we moved into a rival school. I was the boy that was part Anglo and part Spanish. Yeah. So that means I never thought about it till motor is two different sides. So when I went to school as a new kid, they saw the Spanish kid, and then they saw the white kid. So I got picked on by the Spanish because I looked white, and then got picked on. Intimidating, and then I got the Anglos, the white boys, picked on me because I looked white, but I'm Spanish.
Yeah. So la experiencia que dice Tim es que pues estaba en sur de Texas, porque la gente cree que sur de Texas es otro país, pues que es otro país, ¿no? Y la experiencia que pasó con bullying es porque es latino, parte latino, pero es blanco, y ahí es donde comenzó el bullying en su experiencia.
And so for me too, Micah, is just the first part of the show, all the different segments. As 5th grade, got to ride the bus. So when I rode the bus, guess what? I got picked on. So into the bus, I always got picked up, got my head hit on top of the roof because I was a new kid. No one was there to stand up for me.
There was no cameras back then.
No cameras.
Yeah.
As we talked to the driver of the bus, when you're in that bus, it's just you, only you to protect you. So I had nobody to protect me because I was two different genders.
Right.
Spanish and Anglo. So when I went to school, I got picked on by one slamming in lockers, pushed in the restroom because one, they didn't like me. I was an outsider, just like another school. And that's key for Austin. You have so many schools. So now I feel how those kids, if the parents have to move due to economic hardships, if you move the other side, now in my head, it's just going, there's that chance. So
did you share that to your parents? And what was their parents' involvement or response?
Well, the big response was, once again, I'm returning. I hope everybody watches this segment of the show is because earlier, the 4 different keys that, as the counselor talked about, my parents always told me, ignore the bully, run. And for me, those were 2 big things where my dad's a pastor, so when it comes to fighting, I didn't know what self-defense or fighting was. It was always be nice, be nice. And so for me, it was hard to run from a bully, but when you have 2-3 people closing the door in the restroom, and welling on you and why you're here and you know you're this and you know you're that, calling you names, after you tell your parents, I eventually realized that I was on my own.
Yeah, I can relate that because my mom raised 6 kids by herself, and she taught us you behave in school. And so when I was in 6th grade, I had the experience, 6 kids, students attacked me, and I still remember if I had not, I could hear my mom. Yeah, mi mom, no te portas bien en la escuela. Behave good. But when that happened to me, 6 kids around, I saw a chair. The first thing that child with those kids said, attacked him. And the way they said it, to be assault sexually, I grabbed the chair and started hitting people. And that voice of my mom kept going like, be your best behavior, but this time I respond. And so it's not the promoting the violence, it's just you got to respond sometime. And I did respond that time. But, every situation is different. But, we go home as a kid to the parents, and the parents say, because your dad, you share with us, is a pastor, so his values were very different. So you not get involved in behavior, acting bad in school. And so your mind is going through that process. So did you have conversations with your dad?
We sat down, once again, being Spanish, my dad worked all the time. So it was no one-on-one time. My mom was the one listening, so we cooked, we cleaned together. I know how to make the best cakes, the cookies, but that was my one-on-one time with her. She understood. She's, you know, eventually they took me out of school. But before I jumped ship on that one, Micah, the big thing that which most parents need to realize and see is the signs. So first thing in the morning, I got picked up by the bus. I didn't want to get up the bus stairs because I knew what was waiting for me. It wasn't one, it was usually between 3 or 4 people. So in my head, I'm going, here we go again. When I get to school, I'm getting pushed in lockers. I'm getting tagged in the restroom with 3 or 4 different guys. The principal ain't doing much because, once again, I moved into a rival school. He didn't like me because I look Spanish, but yet I was white. But then there was too much conflict. So he didn't do much. Not how many tools we have nowadays. So what was eventually happening to me was every morning I would throw up before I go to school.
Se está hablando de, pues, para no ir a la escuela, porque lo está pasando, pues, a veces que entender lo que está pasando con nuestros hijos, porque alerta, como dice uno, ¿verdad? Porque se dice que pues él no se quiere levantar a ir a la escuela por las razones que lo que va a pasar en el colegio donde estaba yendo él. And so you had similar to that experience, Miguel.
Yes, I did.
And what was it?
Mine was a little bit more different as being picked on, but mine started off at 6th grade.
Wow.
Because at that grade, that's when you got to...
I think those hormones are going everywhere
Yes,
sometimes.
and that's when
everybody
you-
wants to fit in little cliques, what we call it.
And that's when you got to meet other students from different schools. And part of my part was I was the mayor's grandson. And everybody wanted to pick on me because I was the mayor's grandson. And pretty much it was every other week, there was these 2 guys always picking on me, calling me names, lockers, bathroom. Never rode the bus, but I got harassed pretty much a lot.
During the time. So where did it stop and what happened?
It stopped when I was a freshman in high school.
Okay.
After that, that's when my parents and I had to move to San Antonio.
Okay.
But it continued while I was in high school as well, because I also went to a rivalry where it was just white and black.
Right.
They didn't really accept Mexican.
Right. And so Tim, what happened? When did the parents realize that this is? Or when was it that you shared with your parents? This is just, I need your support. I mean,
I think it was once, every morning they noticed I was throwing up before I go to school, every morning. Eventually, it was in the classroom. So when it migrated from home, bus to classroom, I was getting sick in my stomach in the classroom because I knew when that bell rang, it was open season.
right.
If I go to class, I'm going to get it. So before then, I started getting, I called it the bladder infection. So I told the teacher, you know, I got a bladder problem. As a kid, I didn't know. I was
So
trying.
those are signs that parents need to listen and really educate themselves. Okay, so you went to the doctor. Did you have a bladder infection or?
No.
Okay.
But when I went back, I told the teacher I did. Back then, you didn't have to have notes. So she believed me, and she saw I went to the doctor. But every class, so every time I went to each class, they let me go to the restroom. So right when that bell rang, I was already running to the next class.
Yeah, because I think the signs that parents need to know is that, you know, it's like you treat the child for medical reasons, and everything comes fine, and then you need to find out emotionally, psychologically, physically what's going on in their environment. And that's why I always say, parents, you got to listen, you got to get involved with your kids. You know, we don't have the answers, but somebody might have the answers. Like we talked in the first episode, you know, reach to the administrators. The administrator doesn't hear someone, a counselor, someone out there is going to listen to us and find a solution. But I think to find a solution, it takes all of us to be engaged in that solution as a parent, as administrators, counselors, organizations that are out there. So se toma toda la comunidad, padres, como el estudiante, administradores, a ver qué está pasando y a también tener un plan para el asunto. And so where did it change to you? And at one time we talked about stage. It's changed something to you and you took a different route of your experience being bullied.
Well, eventually I got pulled out of school. So I didn't have an answer from back then, the administrative assistant, the principal, assistant principal. So eventually it was getting to my health.
So you were out how long for school?
1 year.
Wow.
So my mom has a 5th grade education.
Yes.
She raised 6 kids. I'm number 5. So when it comes to getting education through my mom, I was very limited with resources. My dad being Spanish, he married my mom with 4, so he basically adopted 4 plus us 2.
So saliste de la escuela por un año, porque pues el apoyo no había en ese tiempo, tanto como ahorita que hay. And so you went back, but what changed that when you went back to school?
Well, I started reading what I do now. I'm a personal trainer, been a personal trainer for 18 years.
We can see that now.
I've realized that changing my image would make a difference, and I learned that within myself. For me, I got tired of being picked on.
You became the king within you.
Became the lion.
Yeah, that's right.
I was the lion in my domain.
Sí se quedó ahora es el león de él porque lo aprendió ese año que no estuvo en el colegio, pues vas a cambiar yo mismo algo. Y eso ahora es, dice, soy el león de mi lugar. ¿No es cierto?
So I wanted to get more mentally strong. I wanted to go back to school and show them, you know what, you can't pick on me no more. And all my other friends that I had to leave, you're not picking on them no more. So I went to school. They didn't know who I was. I was bigger, taller, but I represented a new side. It has to stop.
And you got involved with activities and, you know.
Got involved in a lot of different activities. Started doing things after school. Started doing playing baseball for the first time, playing basketball. I was interacting with the community now. I got to be with my friends now. So basically for a whole year, I didn't have no friends. All I did was homeschool and going, how can I change this? I had to bring it within, as we talked about. And so eventually I didn't give up.
There's something there. There's to speak out, talk to someone. Miguel, did you experience that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
What changed at the time? There was a time frame when something changed, and how did that change?
At the time, change for me was my grandpa always told me to keep my head up high. He always told us never look down. But with sources of me trying to be strong, I just kept it.
And building it up.
And
so that experience, and that negative experience, you're now a professional pastry chef.
yes.
So
I've been a pastry chef for the last 10 years.
that was your dream. You use that energy instead of focusing on
Yes.
something. Use that energy to something positive. And so that experience, you give how you give that experience back to the community. What do you do with your professionalism?
Every pastry that I make for the community, and I do give back, I know that I'm putting my heart, my love, and all my time to it.
And you want people to model that. You model that
Yes.
because you want a child out there, a parent out there. Because I believe in education very highly. A 2-year, 4-year, whatever. You got to listen to your child's heart. Comprender el corazón, el sueño de la educación. 2 años, 4 años, lo que quiere el niño. No el sueño de ustedes, padres. El sueño de ellos. Y se enfocan ustedes en el sueño. Not what you wanted to become when you were a child. Now it's their time. As a child, what they want to do. And so just very listen to them. And going back to you, so now you're involved in the community, and I know you are. So I know you're with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce. And what do you do there?
Well, with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce, there's more difficulty that I went through as from 6th to college. Like I was telling you, it took me 16 years to get my degree.
And why was that?
Because I had a learning disability. I had dyslexia, being Spanish. 6 out of 8 had dyslexic.
Okay.
And so with me taking me out of school at that time, being bullied, it really suffered my education because I lost 1 year of schooling. And so for me now, I got my degree in exercise science. I got my degree in psychology. I'm on the board of the Health and Wellness Committee for the Hispanic Chamber.
And what does it do, the board?
Oh, the board. This past year, we changed 3 different components. One, we're focusing on mood disorders, behavior. We're working on cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and obesity. I went over the edge on that one, but 4 different components.
And then you're involved also with autism.
Autism Trust.
Yes.
Autism Trust is it's coming to be a reality here in Austin. It's a disorder that most people don't realize that affects their child in multiple ways. And usually it's either from one genetically, but what we found studies have shown it's from vaccination. And so right now, the scientific study, it's still unconclusive, but when a kid has a disability, as autism, I understand how, in some points, I can relate because took me so long to get my degree, so long to get helped.
So
For me-
giving back to the community, that's what it takes you. I think from the experience that we deal with, with bullying experience, because I experienced that, and I give back to the community involved in different organizations. But I stand very strong. I mean, you gotta change it right there and there. El momento que está pasando que cambiar eso, and it's part of the culture. because in the other episode, I talked about culture need to change patterns. Son géneros que como romper de la cultura que nos apoya ya a nosotros como adultos. And so, you had a mentor, and who was that mentor when that was happening and to getting you where you're doing now and you're as a chef pastry? Who guided you there?
It was my grandpa. My grandpa was there for me since I was a little kid. Pretty much, I looked up to him since he was the mayor of the city of Del Rio for 25 years. Looking at him and seeing that he was giving back so much to the community, I was like, I want to be just like him, giving back. And that's what I want to do, is when I open my business, I want to get back to the community and show them that.
So what got you started doing pastry?
Pastry,
Wow.
It started off at 9 years old.
Wow.
Pretty much my grandpa's parents had a bakery in Del Rio, and it was a panaderia, and my job was to clean the glass, push the cookies, cashier, sweep the floor.
You saw opportunity, hay una oportunidad para todo, ¿verdad? It's like, ¿voy a hacer qué? Lavar los trastes y hacer galletas porque tenía la panadería, ¿ok?
But at that time, I was 9 years old, and I was getting paid $2, and I thought, wow,
Wow, that's
$2.
good.
But also, it was also my uncle that he was the wedding cake guy, and I used to peek through the glass and see him, and I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. And sure enough, he taught me at 9 years old how to ice a cake, how to pipe, how to make flowers.
That was
Kept
your
it-
gear.
my gear.
But we have to find ourselves what we really desire, what we need. En el corazón uno dice, quiero ser maestro, quiero ser pasteles, quiero ser doctor. Es que escuchar, entender lo que está pasando en otros. And, like you said earlier, there's opportunities, and I want to really change and educate our parents out there. You can call the 1-800 numbers. There's a national prevention number out there for suicidal also. There's also for bullying. And I shared this very deeply information from we said in the other episode. It's the 472 help. And that's to reach out there. If you don't know the numbers, parents, you can call the 211. They will guide you to get this information. Call our schools, because our school has the resources. AISD has phenomenal resources for parents, not only on bullying and anything else. And we had earlier the counselors here, tenemos consejeros temprano aquí. Tenemos más información parte del escolar de Austin, organizaciones que vienen con nosotros para apoyar a las familias, para en público. So, no más el tema de bullying, otro tema que necesita esos servicios es que hablar con alguien, hablar con nosotros. Si el administrador no tiene tiempo o no lo puede entender por una razón, alguien, consejeras, especialistas de padres que están en unos colegios, porque no todo colegio del distrito escolar de Austin tenemos especialistas de padres, pero es que alguien los va a escuchar. So what I'm saying is that the resources that we have, if the administrator is not available, it doesn't understand, there's always a counselor, there's always parent support specialists, and some of the schools that are funded to have parent support specialists. And I'm one, and of many. And so there's someone about to listen to this, call 211. It's just the very, resources out there. And there, you got to listen, like you said, signs. You mentioned the signs. Sometimes I believe that parents, as an adult, will get busy with their own personal lives, relationships, and we disconnect ourselves from kids. Teresa earlier talked about taking time to spend time with a family. We're in our society because, social media is great, but we disconnect ourselves from family time. And I think we need to come back together and spend family time. Tomar, como dijo Teresa, el tema que hablamos temprano, es que a conectar con nuestra familia, a tener tiempo con nuestra familia. Pague la tele, grabe el show de las águilas, después platiquen con la familia. Tener tiempo para leer con sus hijos, que enfocarse a leer con sus hijos, leer juntos, no vaya a su habitación y se queda ahí y cuando termines vienen a platicar conmigo. No, tener tiempo con ellos. It's just have time with your kids. Not like go to your room and when you figure it out, come out to this. Okay. And first of all, if you have a room and you have all this internet stuff like the TV, no, it's not going to work. It doesn't work, parents. We're trying to put band-aids in situations in a relationship with our kids. Queremos poner como dices una banda de algo con lo que está pasando con nuestros hijos. Y no, es que hablar con nuestros hijos. Nos enfocamos en relaciones y nos enfocamos en nuestros hijos. Hay tiempo para la relación con su pareja, hay tiempo con sus hijos y hay tiempo para uno, su rey. So there's time for us to focus on a relationship and our kids, and most of all, the king within you. You got to focus on that because you cannot focus and love yourself. And this is for the kid right now that's listening to us right now. If you need to work on loving yourself, we're here to provide those resources because it's about loving, embracing yourself. This is what our society is disconnected, and embracing one another. It's not to disagree of your lifestyle or whatever, or your mental diagnosis. It's about embracing it, and it's about education, and it's about what can we do to a fellow man. Because it takes a village to empower and educate a village and strengthen that village. Se toma una comunidad para enfuerzar la comunidad. Se toma nosotros, humanos o padres, a educarlos a nosotros, educar a la comunidad y apoyar lo importante de nuestros hijos. Before we wrap up, anything you want to say, Miguel, just to close?
Pretty much, I would have to say to parents is really listen to your children. My lifestyle with growing up was very hard because I also was raised from a really big family and the only boy of 7 sisters. So I would probably tell parents exactly what you just said. No TV, no internet. Talk to them. My personal favorite was dinner time because I cooked and I let my feelings out to my mom.
Because I know those audience as a person that gives back to the community, as a person that it was affected and survived through that. Because I always say I'm a survivor. I'm not a victim, I'm a survivor of that. Because I convert that experience to a positive into my community. Tim, anything before we just close our segment of the anti-bullying? Take a stand, lend a hand, una voz, tome un pie para dar el apoyo a nuestra comunidad.
Well, I think for me it's two big variables I feel just really important of the show is one, I think first it has to start with the bus. And that bus is when those kids get on that bus. For a family, it's when the parents start seeing different signs of how the kids dress, their attitude, when they get home, how they present themselves with just saying, go in the room and shutting the door. Those are signs that when those kids get on the bus, that there's something going on. So that's why it's really important at the dinner table to listen to your child and see what's going on. Notice the different emotional change, how he's acting. Is he eating too much? Is he overeating? He's not eating. Is he combing his hair different? Is he slicking it back? Is his whole wardrobe has changed?
Yeah.
Who's his clique?
Yeah.
You know, the parents, that you're the foundational setting. So it's key components for the parents to watch how their kids not only grow like a seed, but they're every day. And for kids, my biggest thing is if you're not going to get support from your family or parents, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. You know, with the school officials, administrative counselors. To me, the biggest worry when you reach out for help, it's not only putting your ego down and saying you're desperate or, you know, it's too much. I just got held it in. To me, when you ask for help, it's saying, you know what, I don't understand the road where this bus is going. Yeah. I need somebody to help me direct this bus because my parents might be too busy with work. It might be a single mom, single dad that has 3 or 4 jobs. They don't have time for the kids. So when kids are watching the show, I think it's really important for the kids to reach out to the school officials and say, you know, my mom and dad work too much, or mom and dad, or if they live with abuela, they don't have that one-on-one experience, different generations. So I think it's really important for the kids to ask for help. There's nothing wrong asking for help. All you're saying is, hey, I don't know how to drive the bus.
Yeah, that's true.
Keep me on the right path. Here's what's going on.
It's nothing, and our cultures play that role. In different cultures, just don't ask for help. And we ask for help. We should ask for help when we're in dire need to help. En parte de culturas también dices, no pides ayuda. Es que pedir ayuda, porque necesitamos la ayuda en ese momento. Y como Tim dice, es que a conocer nuestros hijos, qué mensaje le está dando a los hijos, a nosotros de padres, que lo que está pasando en la escuela, no más en la escuela también padres, también en la casa. Conoce los amigos de sus hijos, los padres. Mamá los enseñó a nosotros conocer los padres de nuestros amigos porque es parte, decía, es parte de la vecindad, apoyarse. Y mi mamá todo decía, dime con quién te juntas y ahí platicamos después, ¿verdad? Y hay veces que es cierto, ¿verdad? My mom used to say, let me know who you hang around with, and I will tell you how it is, you know? And it's just, and I going back, because my mom was the driver of that bus. Mamá era el chofer del camión. And so the other thing she would say to us, and that's what I say this in the show, because she would say that a lot. And, you know, the bus stops, but it's picking up some stuff. And you have to know people, place, and things are going to be positive in that bus as passengers, or are you going to drop them off real quick? And so mamá decía, el camión se va a estar en un alto, ¿verdad? Y vas a ver, esta persona, esta cosa va a estar como pasajeros. Y yo sé cuándo se salen esos pasajeros del autobús porque yo estoy encargada de este autobús. And so it comes back to us to say, we have to embrace ourselves. We have to love ourselves. You got to do it first, and that is the best thing. Love yourself. You're king within yourself. Usted es su rey o la reina de su lugar. And so always remember, just always remember that you have to listen to your kids and educate your kids and do the best of the ability you need to do. And so always remember, you are the driver of your child's bus, and follow us at Twitter. And I want to thank our guests. Well, thank you.